Pilates chums. I am recording this live, but actually I'm hoping you just watch it as a recording. This is the easiest way to do it. Now, today's Pilates session, and it's been a while, so forgive me if I've forgotten things. It's going to be, yes, some general core strengthening and mobility and flexibility, but there's going to be an emphasis on these muscles, the glutes. So I know some of us have been experiencing some issues, and some glute strengthening is going to help with that. So without much further ado, let's go. So I've got my mat here. I might have to adjust things as I go, but welcome to Tag Towers. Let's make a start. So I'm sitting on my mat. I'm going to try and do the warm-up seated. Just nice and easy does it. It's going to be a fairly gentle session anyway, but if anything feels wrong, if you don't feel very well, maybe just have a look at this and plan when you do feel well to do it. Okay? Again, any pain, anything uncomfortable with these exercises, just email me, get in touch, and we'll have a chat about maybe what's suitable and what's not suitable, or how you're doing it. Let's do that. So we are going to sit up. We're going to just find a comfortable position for our legs, just a slight bend in the knee. What we want to make sure of is that you're lengthening through this spine and that the shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. I'm laughing because I can hear like an elephant upstairs, but it's not. It's just one of my children. So we're going to just lengthen through the spine. Really think about lifting the chest, opening the chest, drawing those shoulder blades down the back, just letting them slide down the back, and then feeling that length in the neck. So we talk about our helium balloon being attached to the crown of the head. Let's just imagine that balloon floating up towards the ceiling, and just let it gently draw the crown of the head. Let it open up that space between each segment of the spine. And then we're going to see if we can squeeze those shoulders up to the ears, and we're just going to allow those shoulders to slide down. So you may find it better just to let those hands relax on the floor as we squeeze the shoulders up. And we're just going to gently, gently slide those shoulder blades down the back towards your bottom. Good. Let's try that. This time we're going to gently breathe in through the nose. And then we're just gently pushing that breath out with a soft, almost like an H sound. Now we're going to see if we can straighten out those legs a little bit, give those hip flexors a little rest, hold that lovely long spine. Remember, you can always put a towel or a block underneath your bottom if you find it hard to lengthen that spine here. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to bring those fingertips together. Now just see if you can gently, gently draw that tummy button in, and we're going to take a gentle twist one way and really keep it gentle. Back to center. So as we breathe out, we're moving away from center. As we breathe in, we're returning to center. We're not going to worry too much about the breathing, though, to be honest with you. We are just going to get that gentle movement side to side. Good. And we're just opening up that chest, lengthening through the spine, getting a nice little bit of rotation side to side, keeping that chin in line with those thumbs. Good. Nice long spine. And then we're going to bring it back. We're just going to relax those hands down to the side. We're going to bend these knees again. Now we're going to think about this belt-like muscle. We're going to think about this belt-like muscle, big, thick belt. But we're going to think about that pelvic floor as well. So what I'm going to ask you to do is almost from the pubic bone to the belly button. Imagine you're doing up a tight pair of jeans, and we're just going to zip up. We're going to draw up as far as that belly button, and then we're going to relax. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to zip up as hard as we can, so 100% of your maximum. So let's really go for it. Oh, making a face. Try not to make a face. And then we're going to release. So this time we're going to do about half your maximum, so about 50% of that full effort. So what really helps is if we breathe in to prepare, and as we breathe out, we're going to zip up from the pubic bone, those jeans, all the way up to the belly button. And we're going to see if we can hold. So even at 50%, it's really hard to hold. So what we're going to try now is a much lighter contraction, about 30% of your maximum. So we're going to zip up. Good. And hold it at about 30%. So when we talk about zipping up or tightening the belt, it's that 30% of the maximum. You can use that pelvic floor, and that's the zipping up, or you can just imagine drawing the hip bones together and tightening your belt. Okay, and that's more an abdominal. But if you can bring in that pelvic floor, it really, really makes a difference. Now, what we're going to do next is we're just going to straighten out those legs again, keep that nice long spine, zip up, and we're just going to gently, gently lift that rib cage out of the hips, lengthen up, and we're going to do the same. Lift that rib cage out of the hips. Good. So this is a really gentle way of just mobilizing that lower back, and we're going to do that again. So think about breathing in as we lengthen, breathing out. Good. Breathing in as we lengthen, breathing out. And then we're going to bring it all the way up. Okay, let's just bend those knees. I'm going to turn. You don't have to turn, but I'm going to. I'm going to see if I can start creating that pelvic tilt. So this is the one we start our shoulder bridge off with. We start a lot of movement. So this is involved in the cat. I want you to basically imagine you're a dog with a tail and it's sticking out behind you. And all we're going to do is tilt that pelvis and try and push that tail between your knees. Good. I'm not the greatest demonstrator of this because I haven't got huge amounts of mobility, but I have to really work on what I've got. But what I'm not doing is leaning back. So keep that chest. Imagine you've got headlights on the front of your shoulders and they're staying shining straight ahead as you do this. We're breathing out, really drawing, zipping up as you tilt. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lengthen up. I'm going to take those legs away from center a little bit, but hold that bend. I'm going to tighten my belt, lift that chest over those thighs, come up. Now, I'm going to roll my shoulders back. I'm going to tilt that pelvis, and then I'm going to lengthen up. I'm going to lift that chest over those thighs. So we're really warming that back up. I'm going to take a little roll of those shoulders. I'm going to just draw those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom, zip up. I'm going to tilt. I'm going to lengthen up. I'm going to breathe in, and as I breathe out, I'm going to lift that chest over those thighs. Right, now this time, I'm going to bend my knees a little bit more. I'm going to hold onto the back of the thighs. I'm going to tilt, and I'm going to see if I can press one little segment of my spine at a time down into the mat. I've come too far up my mat, so what I'm going to do is lie down. Right. Hello, can you see me? Maybe not. I can't see, well, you can see me, but I can't see you. Now, feet. We want to make sure those feet are about hip width apart with those toes facing the wall in front of you. Now, arms. Relax the arms. Trunk. We want to find that neutral spine. So take those hands underneath that lower back or into the lower back. Notice what happens when you arch the back away from the floor. Okay, now this is really important. We don't want you to arch. And then notice what happens when you really press that lower back down into your hands. And again, generally, we're not wanting you to do that just yet. We want to go from arch to pressing in, and we want to make those movements smaller and smaller till there's just a light bit of pressure on those hands. And we can then take them away. So this is our neutral spine. We've got that natural curve at the base of the spine. But if in doubt, take that lower back closer to the floor than further away. Now, what we're going to do is practice those pelvic tilts. So can you see this tilting movement? So if I was to take my fingers and thumbs so that my fingers were pointing towards my pubic bone and my thumbs were on my belly button, what I'm doing is I'm starting from a point where the thumbs and the fingers are totally even. It's as if they're on a dinner plate. Then I'm tilting my pelvis, pressing that lower back into the floor. So those fingertips are higher than the thumbs. The pubic bone is higher than the belly button. Good. So we're breathing out as we tilt. Excellent. So this is our pelvic tilt lying down. We've got that belt active, jeans zipped up, shoulders relaxed, and I'm looking straight up to the ceiling. Now, I'm just going to relax there. I'm going to walk these feet. Oh, did you hear my ankles clicking? How healthy that sounded. Now, feet and knees together, arms gently out to the side. I'm going to zip up. I'm going to draw those hip bones together. And I'm just going to gently, gently let those knees go one way and then the other. Brilliant. So we're keeping both shoulder blades melting into the carpet, keeping that belt active. So there's no tension in the shoulders. There's tension in this area here because this is where the movement is coming from. Everything is starting from the middle, and then imagine that movement flowing out through the legs and the knees. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just gently turn the head in the opposite direction to the knees. Good. All the time, this belt is active. We're not arching the back. We're just getting this lovely mobility throughout the spine. Excellent. Okay. And then we're going to bring it back to center. And we're just going to bring those feet hip width apart again. Now, what I am going to show you is my pink band that I've created a loop in. So if you haven't got a resistance band, do not worry. If you have, we're going to place this resistance band, nice thick part of the band, try not to let it cut into your thighs. And we're going to bring the feet, the heels, ever so slightly closer to the bottom than we sometimes might. I'm not saying that it's wrong to bring them close to the bottom, but sometimes some people prefer to take it there. Now, if we're there, the hamstrings, the backs of the legs are going to take more of the work than the bottom muscles. So we're going to force these bottom muscles to work a little bit harder by bringing the heels closer to the bottom. Now we're going to take this pelvic tilt. Goes without saying that we've tightened the belt, we breathe in to prepare, we've taken our pelvic tilt. Now push into the heels, squeeze these bottom muscles, and just gently start to lift this bottom away from the floor. We're going to hold it, and then we're going to just press each little segment of the spine back down into the mat, one at a time, back to neutral spine. Tighten the belt. Okay, let's again tilt, squeeze those bottom muscles. So it really helps if you push into the heels of those feet, squeeze those bottom muscles. Now we're going to breathe in at the top, and as we breathe out, we're going to press each little segment of that spine one at a time back down into the mat. And again, breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, tighten that belt, tilt that pelvis, squeeze through those bottom muscles. Good. Now, what we're doing with this band is this is making the glutes work efficiently. It's forcing you not to let those knees push outwards or push inwards. So we're making everything work in line as it should be. So it's really going to activate, it's really going to make them efficient at firing up. Good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do one more of these. And then if you can, we're going to hold that bridge position. Now, as soon as it gets too much, I want you to come out of it. So we're going to hold that bridge position, really squeezing here. As soon as this starts to happen, I want you to come back down, okay? So we're squeezing here. We're going to relax those shoulders now. We are going to breathe in and just float those arms. We're going to breathe out. So the movement is coming from the shoulder. Keep squeezing those glutes. Breathe out and breathe in. Good. We are breathing out and we're breathing in. Really squeezing there, guys. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now I want you to hold it as long as you can hold this position. If you're not sure, get someone to film you so you can have a little look at what you do, or just get someone at home to look at you and say, you're dropping your bottom, mum or dad or whatever, darling, son. Brilliant. Keep squeezing, keep squeezing. Now, if you can, we'll bring in this scissors movement. We're going to do 3, breathing out, breathing in. We're going to breathe out. And then I'm going to bring this arm down. And again, we're imagining that we're painting that line of dots down the mat using that spine. Excellent. Okay. You can bring those feet in. We're going to take that band off for now. And let's look at my little list. What did I say we were going to do next? Excellent. Okay, what I'm going to get us to do is just bring one knee into the chest. Now you can straighten out this leg or you can leave it bent. This one here. So we're just going to bring this knee into the chest, and now we're going to stretch out the muscles we were working. And then we're just going to gently, gently draw that knee to your opposite shoulder, okay? So all the while, I tend to look at you a little bit. What I should be doing is just looking straight up towards the ceiling. And then we'll bring that knee back. Let's bring the other knee in there. So what we'll do is we'll hug both knees into the chest, and then we just gently, gently slide this one away. Slide that one away. Again, you can leave it back. I like to stretch out these hip flexors a bit. So let's draw that knee towards the same shoulder, and then very gently just start to draw it towards the opposite shoulder. Just keeping the shoulder blades in contact with the mat, keeping as much of that lower back in contact with the mat as you can. And then we'll bring it back. We're going to bring these knees in, bring this one down. Okay, let's let these knees fall to one side, and we're going to come onto our sides. So, how are we doing there? It's been quite glute heavy, so just don't forget everything is starting with this strong trunk. So we're not going to forget the belt or the pelvic floor squeeze, zipping up to me and you. Now we're going to create a 90-degree angle at the knee, and we're going to make sure those heels are not behind the tailbone, but in line with, or maybe a little bit in front. And what we're going to do is use this arm to support the head. If you need something else so that we're not sort of dropping that head down, maybe a towel or a piece of clothing would be good. Now let's just see if I'm here. Now this arm, quite interesting. You can leave it there, but watch it's not sort of slumping and drawing you backwards. So it can be here. I like to sort of have it here, and then I'm just going to slide my shoulder blade down the back towards the bottom. Now, tighten that belt, and what we're going to do is we're just going to open out those knees and bring it gently down. Now, we are working these smaller muscles. There's a little bit of glute in there, but we're working the glute medius. Okay, there's a little bit of minimus, a little bit of maximus. Okay, and we're just making sure these glutes are strong. So these muscles all in this area, they play a really strong role in stabilizing that knee joint. So if your pelvis is nice and stable, it really helps with the stability of the knee joint. So we are breathing out, and all the while we're drawing those hip bones together, sliding that shoulder blade down the back towards the bottom. And I'm pretty sure I've done somewhere between 8 and 10. So anywhere between 8 and 12 of these. If you find that 8 is too many, we'll just do less, and then we can slowly build over time. Now, this is quite challenging because what we're going to do next is a straight leg lift. So again, these hips are stacked, shoulders nice and relaxed, belt active, and we're going to just gently come up
and down. Now, it's quite often you see someone turning that foot out. We're going to keep that knee facing forwards and that big toe facing forwards for now. And we're just, again, working these muscles in a different way. So notice that way down, that control on the way down. That's good. Breathing out. So there's no movement in this trunk. It's just providing the legs with a really strong, stable base, almost a push off, if that makes sense. Good. And again, we're going to do somewhere between 8 and 12 of these. Brilliant. So we're breathing out and in. And then I think that's enough for me. That's enough for me. If you want to do a couple more, be my guest. And then I'm just going to let that leg come over. I'm just going to gently rub that area. And then we're going to come back to that position we did the clams in. But this time, I'm going to slide this arm over. There's always time for some chest stretching. That's what I say. So what we're going to do is relax the shoulders away from the ears. We're going to open out that chest and we're going to follow that hand. And then we're going to bring it back. Good. So if we can, these hips, imagine I've just glued these hips to the floor. So this hip's not going anywhere. And we've G-clamped that one. Is that the word you use? I used to use a G-clamp in woodwork. But bearing in mind that was about 30 odd years ago, I can be forgiven for getting the name of the clamp wrong. So we're just feeling that really nice stretch across the front of the shoulders and the chest. And then we're just going to bring it down. Now, what we'll do now is just straighten out those legs. We're going to come onto our front. I'm going to just make myself decent. and I'm going to talk to you from this position. So we are going to make sure now that we find that neutral spine. When we work on our front, it's quite tempting to let that tummy button just melt down into the mat. So we should almost let those abdominals drop down. So the first thing we're going to do is practice finding a really optimum position while lying on our front. So we're going to lie. You might want to put something underneath your forehead. So I've rolled my mat up a little bit so I get that nice length. And then we're going to remember that big long tail. So just see if you can find that little pelvic tilt movement. And just make this movement smaller and smaller till you arrive at that midpoint. And what you'll find is you almost have to activate the core muscles to hold it. So it prevents this overarching in the back. Now I'm going to relax my shoulders and I'm just going to gently, gently, gently lift my chest away from the mat. Now, if I really squeeze my bottom muscles, I may be able to lift that chest a little bit further. And then I'm going to come down. Good. I'm just going to drop those elbows a little bit to stop my shoulders from tensing out. So I'm going to lift that chest, squeeze the bottom muscles. And I'm not lifting my chin. Brilliant. So now I'm going to really draw my tummy button away from the mat, tighten that belt, squeeze that pelvic floor. I'm going to breathe in to prepare. As I breathe out, I'm going to lift the chest. I'm going to squeeze that bottom, see if I can lift that chest a little bit more. And bring it down. I'm going to do the same again. Just focus on lengthening through that spine, not allowing that tummy to just dip down into that floor. And make sure we're using the back muscles, but we're also using these bottom muscles, those big glutes. One more time, squeeze the glutes, see if they can assist. And then we're going to come all the way back down. Good work, guys. Okay, from here, what we're going to do is bring you onto your hands and knees. We're going to just bring those hands underneath the shoulders, lengthen through that spine. And we're going to not only tilt that pelvis, so push that tail between the knees, but we're going to draw that lower spine up to the ceiling as we breathe out. We're going to breathe in, draw those shoulders away from the ears. Tighten that belt, draw, zip up those jeans, draw that tummy button in. We're going to breathe out and we're going to breathe in. Slide those shoulder blades down the back. Breathe out. So it's like one continuous movement. And we're going to breathe out. And then we're going to come back and we're going to see we can bring ourselves into that child's pose position. I'm going to bring those elbows behind my knees. And then I'm just going to gently, gently slide those elbows forward, stretch out those shoulders a little bit. And then I'm going to do that clam and side leg lift on the other leg. So you should be able to bring yourself this way and then just slide yourself into this position. Didn't think that one through, did I? No, siree. All right, now, so we want that right angle at the knee. We're going to just let that head rest here. Now, remember this arm. Quite often we see this or this. We want to really draw that shoulder away from the ear. And we're just going to look straight ahead. So you've got that little tennis ball between the chin and the chest. And then we're going to open and we're going to bring it down. Now, if you're not sure that your heels are in the right place, or if it feels wrong, there's nothing wrong with just checking and seeing where we're at. Also, notice that neutral spine when we're climbing. It's quite common to start arching the back as soon as you get into this position. So we're going to open and we're going to control it shut. Good. So we're going to open and we're going to control it shut. Now remember to zip up. And we're breathing out. Good. So we're breathing in as we bring it down. Keep zipping up. Keep drawing that belt-like muscle in. Good. So we're providing that really stable base. Good. And it's all very controlled. Shoulders are relaxed. Belt active. Breathing out. And again, if you're not feeling it in this area, you may find that your feet are maybe in the wrong position. Good. Quite often you feel it in the front of the leg or sort of here if the feet are sort of too far forward, so there's not that 90-degree angle. Because we need a little bit of an angle here too. Okay, so that might work better for you. Just see what you feel. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to lengthen out those legs. So we're going to straighten out. If you need to give that area a rub, you can. I'm just going to check that I seem to be hips on top of the other now. Am I going to need a little bit of support here? Oh, yes. So I'm going to draw that shoulder away from the ear, and then I'm going to come into my side leg lift. So what I don't want to be doing here is wobbling. I'm missing the point of this exercise, but I still want to be drawing in here. I'm almost imagining that someone's trying to put a piece of paper between my waist and the floor. So I'm drawing up. Now I feel a bit more confident now. So I'm going to breathe out, breathe in. Still got that knee facing forwards. And I'm working these muscles here. Breathing out, breathing in. Good work, guys. Breathing out and in. So again, somewhere between about 8 and 12 of these. Once you start being able to do 12, you can move maybe onto 15. And if you can do that easily and with good technique, then we can start actually making the actual exercise itself more challenging. But until you can do that without wobbling, falling over, an excessive soreness the next day, this. Now tighten that belt. Let's do that lovely open door exercise. So we're breathing out, breathing in. Probably one of my favorite movements that I've learned doing Pilates. Really complements any upper back work that you might be doing. And we're going to breathe out And we're going to breathe in. Good. So, I'm going to breathe out again. And then we're going to bring it back. Now again, we are going to straighten out these legs. And we're going to roll over onto our fronts. So we're going to remember what we were working on last time. So that was not allowing an excessive arch here. So we're going to just take those pelvic tilts, make them smaller and smaller till you arrive at that midpoint. And then you can rest that forehead on the mat, on the back of your hands. And we're going to imagine that we're lying on that ice block. So the ice is so cold, you're going to draw your belly button away from it. And we're going to start to work these glutes. So we're going to squeeze and we're going to lengthen this leg. Lengthen it. Imagine you're reaching for something on the wall behind you with your toes. And then we're going to lower down. So we're squeezing from the hips. It's coming from here. We're having to lengthen the hip flexors. And all the while, shoulders are relaxed. Doesn't matter if that foot is flexed, if the toes pointed, because really we want that straight leg, but it's all coming from these bottom muscles here. Good. They're the core muscles are having to work to stop that happening. So everything's going on here. We're going to do again 8 to 10, and we're really going to squeeze from the hips. Excellent. Bring it down. So those hip bones are remaining in contact with the mat. I'm trying to keep my knee as straight as I can, just because otherwise I tend to do that. I tend to use my hamstrings more than that's the hamstrings there. So, and they do that. Now, what we're going to do next is the other leg. So, squeeze. Excellent. Squeeze. So, we're tightening that belt, breathing in to prepare, breathing out, and breathing in. Really concentrating, guys. Breathing out, squeezing through those glutes. Breathing out, squeezing, and breathing in. And again, we want the same number on the left as we do on the right. And then we're going to see if we can do alternate. Now, this is going to be a little bit more powerful. So we're going to add a little bit faster. Squeeze, squeeze. Breathing out and in, out and in. So again, both hip bones remain in contact with the mat. We're going to do 4, breathing out and in, 3 and 2 and 1. And then again, we're going to come up into that 4-point kneeling position. We're just going to get that little pelvic tilt going, make sure we're in neutral, get that tail sticking straight out behind you. And then I'm going to drop my chin, tilt that pelvis, curve that spine up towards the ceiling, really push through those arms. And then I'm going to come back into my child's pose. Superb. And it's really interesting when you're doing those, well, I call it swimming legs, those leg lifts on your front. But it's really tempting to get the leg as high as you can, and that's not the key. The key is to squeeze from here, and it doesn't really matter what your movement looks like per se. It's about getting the right muscles working. So what we're going to try and do, I'm going to show you. Yes, I am going to show you a little bit of work for the upper back. We've done a little bit of lower back, but I'm going to leave that for today otherwise, and then I'm going to show you something else. So we're going to come back down onto your front. We're going to let that forehead rest on the mat. I've got an intruder. And then we're going to just find that neutral spine and we're going to draw that tummy button in. So we're going to just squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift those forearms away from the floor and bring it down. Good. So we are going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. And we're going to breathe in. And just relax the shoulders away from the ears. Now, we've done 5 like this. I'm going to show you a way to make it slightly more challenging, and we're going to do another 5, or you can stay with this one. So still with those elbows below the shoulders, we've got the palms down. We're going to squeeze those shoulder blades together and release. So we're squeezing. So the bottom is relaxed. Belt drawing up. Zip up those jeans. And we're going to take one more of these. And then we're going to bring it down. And you may need to just stretch out that back. You may be okay. But I'm going to come into that lovely child's pose anyway. And then I'm going to come back into this position. So with our special glute session, we are going to be looking at this. So again, you want to be careful with this. We may need to work up to this one. So you may need to do 2 sets of the straight leg lifts. Okay, but if you feel like you want to give this a try, we are going to make ourselves decent. We are going to, hello Sam. Hello Samuel. We're going to let that forehead rest on the back of the hands, and then keeping one fly or one thigh just in contact with that mat, we're going to bring this heel towards the ceiling. Now, what tends to happen here is we arch the back and let that belly just flow into the mat. So let's bring this down. Let's come back to basics. So shoulders relaxed away from the ears. We're going to find that neutral spine, and we're going to remember that ice block that we're lying on. Now let's bend that leg, let's flex the foot, and all we're going to do is we're going to squeeze that bottom and see if we can push the heel towards the ceiling. Notice I am not making a big movement. I am just firing. Everyone see all right with the dog? There we are, you're all right. So it's not a big movement. We're just relaxing the shoulders, keeping those jeans zipped up. Zip up those jeans, squeeze, and down. Now again, you can work up to 8 to 10, but I'm just sticking with 5 to now, okay? Because I don't want you to go 2. So again, find that neutral spine before you lift the heel. Tighten that belt, zip up those jeans, then lift. Flex that foot, squeeze, and down. Good. Squeezing from the glutes. Nothing else should be tensing. The core muscles are keeping you stable. We're not pushing off the other leg. So relax that other leg, squeeze, and bring it down. Good. And then we're going to see if we can bring ourselves into the stroking dog position. All right, my friends. So Sam's just scuppered something that I was going to do, but I'm going to show you anyway. We are going to take a straddle. Now, it doesn't have to be quite such a long straddle or wide straddle as I've done, but what I'd like us to do is just bend those knees, feet on the floor, long spine, and we're just going to gently soften this elbow, breathe out and breathe in. Now relax those shoulders, zip up those jeans, breathe in, and we're going to breathe out. Good. So we're going to breathe in, zip, breathe out. Good. Breathe in, relax those shoulders, zip, and breathe out. Good.
Breathe in. That's it. Good. Okay, so let's see if we can come here. We're going to take that tilt that we did originally, and we're going to come all the way back down. Now, we're going to get that band if we can, and we're going to just see if we can hook that band over that foot. Can you just about see that? I'll just show you there. You can point or you can flex. And I'm just going to lower it a little bit so you can see. But if you can, we're just going to bring you to that lovely stretch. And we're going to hold the band and we're going to draw 5 circles clockwise with that big toe. Breathing out as you move away from center, breathing into return. And then we're going to do 5 circles. And imagine I put a pencil in that big toe. And we're just drawing those circles. They don't have to be massive circles. But what we do want is you to imagine that I've put headlights on your hip bones. And those headlights are shining on the ceiling. We're maintaining that neutral spine. And those lights aren't wobbling at all. And then when we get there, we're just going to flex the foot. That's what I mean by flex. Draw the toe up towards the knee. And then we're just going to gently let this leg fall across the body. Gently does it. Breathe out. And then we're going to breathe in. This time, we're going to let that leg gently fall away from center. Now, if you haven't got a resistance band, you can use a towel for this. Okay, just anything just to support. And then we're going to bend the knee, change feet. You can hold on with 2 hands if you prefer. And again, just flex and point a little bit. See if you can get that really nice straight angle at the knee. So you may have to take it away from center and just gently work on the back of the leg flexibility. Now we're going to make those circles. So see if you can relax those shoulders. Good. Remember this belt. So what we quite often see is that happening. And what we want to do is just stabilize that trunk as best as we can. And I'm drawing circles. Actually, my circles are all over the place here today, but hey. So I'm going to have to concentrate. I really find it helps to breathe out as I move away from center. It's almost where you need the most core control. And then we're going to come back now. I'm going to flex that foot. Can you see that? I'll bring it there a little bit. And I'm going to let this leg just gently fall. So this hip is still on the floor with me. I'm just letting that foot fall across the body. Just realize you can see the bottom of my feet. Goodness knows what they'll be showing you. And now I'm just going to let that inner thigh become stretched. Good. And we're going to bring it back. That's excellent, guys. So we're just going to lose the band. And I'm just going to bring these knees into the chest. And I'm just going to hold it there. Now to finish off our stretches, because it's very much that glute session, I'm going to finish off and we're going to turn over onto our knees. Now for some of you, if your knees are sore, you'll find this really difficult. So I'm just going to give you the alternative first. We're basically going to lie, we're going to bring that heel towards the bottom. You may be able to hold onto that heel. I'm going to stretch out the front of that thigh. If you can, though, we're going to see if we can, can't see my head, what a bonus. Now we're going to take one foot and see this heel, I'm going to slide it in front of that knee. And then I'm just going to bring that knee over the heel. So this is the area we're stretching. And ideally, we just want to make sure this doesn't get too tight. So if we lift the chest, we should get this really nice stretch here.
Watch out for arching your back. Again, we're sort of almost pushing this hip bone forwards. Then we're going to come back and we're going to slide this foot backwards. Wow, it's never going to be elegant if I'm doing it, but the premise is the same. So I'm going to do this with the other foot, and this time it's this leg that we're stretching. So you notice we're never really pushing this knee over that front toe. So we've got the knees, they're hip width apart, the feet are hip width apart, we're really opening up those hips. This is a beautiful stretch. I love it. And then we're going to bring it all the way back. Elegance. Not quite. So I was going to sit in a beautiful position with you in a straddle position. So I'll sit cross-legged instead. Well, my sort of cross-legged. I'm going to relax the shoulders away from the ears. I'm just going to take a couple of little rolls of these shoulders. And then we're going to finish up. I'm just going to finish by getting you to just look towards this shoulder. And then we're going to take this hand and we're going to gently, gently draw that head. So we're looking towards the hip. And then we're going to gently release. And then we're going to do the same on this side. We're going to look towards the shoulder. Then we're going to gently, gently draw that head so we're looking towards the hip. And then we're going to release. And then we're just going to take that little squeeze. We're going to breathe in. And we're just going to breathe out. We're going to soften. And then we're going to take that breath in. Imagine filling your lungs. And then we're going to breathe out. And we're going to take one more. And at this point, I'm hoping you're as relaxed as Samtak, the dog. Thank you very much for joining me there. That was very much a special sort of emphasis on the glutes and the muscles sort of around the lower back and the pelvic area. It may not have had enough abdominal for you, and if it didn't, I'm sorry, but that was the emphasis today. If you do want something a little bit more generalized, then we shall have a look at the more general videos, and I'll do some more. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there's any problems or if you want any guidance. All the best. I'm going to go. Me and Sam are going to go.